There is a hidden signal a man sends when his desire for you is so powerful it terrifies him. And if you miss this signal, you might mistake his deepest longing for disinterest. Few people understand that when a man is overwhelmed by the intensity of his attraction, his behavior doesn't always make logical sense. He might pull away, seem conflicted, or even create distance. Your first thought might be, he's losing interest. But according to depth psychology, this is often the opposite of the truth. This contradiction is not a sign of fading feelings, but of a profound internal battle. An intensity so powerful, it triggers a defense mechanism he isn't even aware of. True, deep-seated desire doesn't follow a straight path. It isn't logical or predictable. When a man feels a soul-level vibration just from the thought of you, his conscious mind will often rebel. It's a primal form of self-protection. He is guarding himself against feeling vulnerable, against being seen in a way that feels exposing. You become the mirror reflecting parts of himself he has kept hidden. That is why one of the most significant signs of profound desire isn't pursuit, but retreat, not action, but to hesitation, not a declaration, but a telling silence. Because a contained longing expresses itself in a different frequency. You sense it in the subtle gestures, the inconsistencies, the moments he hesitates between his instinct and his intellect. Here is a truth rarely spoken. A man only resists an emotion that feels too vast to manage. He doesn't struggle against something trivial. He struggles against something that could redefine his life, penetrate his core, and dismantle the defenses he's spent years constructing. Unconsciously, you stir emotions within him that are too raw to be neatly controlled. This is the classic conflict between the authentic self and the social mask. The authentic self is the raw, genuine, instinctual pull. The mask is the curated identity that insists he must remain composed. So when he creates distance, seems evasive, or appears confused, it isn't because he feels nothing. It's because he feels too much. In this video, we will explore the clearest psychological signs that a man isn't pulling away from you, but from the overwhelming force of his own emotions. Signs that point to a deep, resonant, and almost undeniable attraction. Signs that reveal he holds back precisely because he wants you more than he's willing to confess, even to himself. First sign, the unspoken longing. In psychological terms, what is pushed down does not vanish, it transforms. When a man experiences an attraction so potent, he doesn't know how to process it. His physical self and his actions will start to reveal this inner friction. This is the initial major indicator, concealed yearning. This desire doesn't announce itself loudly, but instead leaks through quiet moments, brief looks, and conflicting signals. A man who deeply wants you won't always voice it. In fact, he will frequently try to conceal it. He doesn't want you to detect the slight shift in his breathing when you walk into a space. He doesn't want you to observe how his eyes find yours only to instantly look away, as if caught in a private act. This visual avoidance is not a sign of rejection, but of profound exposure. It uncovers a person's anxiety that you might see too far into his essence. Psychology explains that the psyche suppresses powerful feelings to avoid the discomfort of being truly seen. That is the precise mechanism at work here. He cannot hold your gaze with ease because his unconscious mind gives him away. The light in his eyes, the curiosity he stifles, the urge to move closer that he battles internally. He doesn't want you to know that the mere tone of your voice or the sight of you leaves him feeling undefended. This internal suppression also manifests in other subtle ways. He may become more reserved when you're near, his vocal tone might shift, or he could suddenly seem unusually detached, not because you are unimportant to him, but because you are too important. This space is a form of self-preservation, a strategy to shield himself from the intensity that floods his system. Another clue of unspoken longing is his avoidance of conversations that feel too emotionally charged. When the discussion turns to profound topics, feelings, intimacy, or connection, he might abruptly switch subjects, crack a joke, or find a distraction. But when you talk about casual, neutral things, he listens with an almost heightened focus. It is his unconscious way of communicating, "I am drawn to you, but I'm not prepared for you to know." He might also seem clumsy, anxious, or preoccupied, making uncharacteristic errors when you are nearby. It is that energy, often described as the force of the unconscious, an energy rising to the surface while he fights to keep it contained, because if he let it flow, his carefully constructed persona could shatter. And herein lies the essential insight. Concealed desire does not indicate a lack of interest. Quite the opposite, it is evidence that his interest is overwhelmingly strong. He doesn't pull back because he doesn't care. He pulls back because the strength of his feeling overwhelms him. He restrains himself because he fears acting on impulse. He hides because he's afraid you'll perceive how deeply you affect him, how much you unbalance and disarm him. This first sign is critical because everything he attempts to suppress ultimately becomes the most apparent. If you observe closely, you'll find that his quiet speaks more volume than his words ever could. Second sign, the internal conflict. There are men who feel attraction, and then there are men who feel it on a foundational level. When a man is drawn to you with this unconscious power, the kind of connection described as the meeting of two deep patterns, his behavior becomes paradoxical, not because he is uncertain of his wants, but because he is acutely aware of them, and that awareness frightens him. The second major sign that he is wrestling with his feelings is this internal turmoil, a quiet war between yearning and self-discipline. Think of the tension between the social facade he presents to the world and the unconscious impulse pulling him toward you. It is a struggle between two forces, the rational mind and the instinctive heart. He wishes to move toward you, yet he holds himself back. He wants to speak with you, yet he remains quiet. He desires to see you, yet his glance darts away. Within all these minute decisions, his presence becomes inconsistent. One day he sends clear signals, the next he seems remote. This is not manipulation, nor is it a tactical game. It is an emotional whirlwind. He lacks the tools to navigate. His inner struggle becomes most visible following moments of closeness. After a meaningful conversation between you, shared joy, or a quiet, intimate space, he often retracts afterward. He communicates less, seems more aloof, acts as if the moment never occurred. But something significant did happen, and that is exactly why he retreats. That closeness activated sensations in him that were too potent. You can also recognize it through his inconsistencies. He claims he doesn't want anything complex, yet he seeks your company. He states he isn't prepared, yet he shows concern for you. He insists he needs space, yet he comes back when you aren't expecting him. Psychology explains that repressed desire doesn't express itself in a linear fashion, but through pendulum swings. Approach, retreat, approach again, an attempt by the deeper mind to find equilibrium. Another indicator of this internal conflict is his exaggerated need for composure. He tries to appear calm, collected, and rational, but his physical self doesn't comply. He seems stiffer, more tense, more alert to your every word. You can sense that he is hyper-aware of his own existence, as if he measures every word to avoid a misstep, and the moment he feels he might lose his grip, he activates protective measures. He creates distance, uses humor, changes the topic, or suddenly acts in a confusing manner. But beneath all this lies the same root cause. His attraction to you is so potent that he must oppose it to avoid feeling defenseless. This internal conflict is one of the clearest indicators, because a man only fights against something that genuinely touches his core. Superficial attractions do not create such friction, only the profound ones do. And when he grapples with this paradox, it's because you've awakened something in him that he cannot command, something that challenges, moves, and unravels him. Third sign, the body's honest language. The physical form never deceives. It is said that when the mind suppresses a powerful want, it doesn't disappear. It transfers into the body, becoming involuntary motions, tiny expressions, an energy that hums between two people, even in total silence. And this is one of the most unmistakable signs that a man desires you so deeply, he is attempting to oppose it. His body is taut, reactive, vibrant, even when he outwardly appears serene. When he's near you, his stance alters. He becomes more rigid, as if his body were under strain, striving to uphold the image of control, or the opposite occurs. He becomes fidgety, plays with his hands, adjusts his clothing, frequently shifts his posture. This restlessness doesn't mean he is uneasy around you. It means he is uneasy within himself. It's the strain between what he wishes to do, move closer, make contact, look at you openly, and what he thinks he should do to avoid revelation. Observe his breath. A man trying to cloak his desire breathes in two distinct ways, very shallowly, as if worried his chest might give him away, or very deeply, as if trying to soothe the internal pressure that consumes him. The body mirrors the force of the unconscious. The heart beats quicker, reactions become more pronounced. The body activates without a conscious command. And then there are the looks he cannot manage. Not the direct stares he avoids, but those transient, rapid, nearly imperceptible glances. He observes you when he believes you won't notice, and the instant you detect him, he averts his eyes as if direct looking were too intimate, too hazardous for his mask of self-possession. These are often called escapes of the unconscious, behaviors that slip through when emotions overpower will. Another clear signal shows in his physical response to your proximity. When you approach, he tenses up. When you step away, he seems to relax, but never fully, because the tension doesn't stem from physical distance, but from emotional proximity. It silently says, I want to be near you, but I shouldn't. I want to touch you, but I can't. I want to express what I feel, but I don't have the courage. Notice his reflexive gestures, how he mirrors your movements, copies your posture, echoes your phrases or expressions. This is a classic sign of unconscious attraction. His body tries to align with yours even while his conscious mind resists. And perhaps the most telling sign of all is his unexplainable edginess. With you, he acts differently than with anyone else. More observant, more responsive, more tuned in than he wishes to admit. It's as if his body were answering to a power he cannot direct. The body is the link between the conscious and the unconscious. It discloses what the mind attempts to hide. So when he seems tense, controlled, restless, or contradictory, it is not by chance. It is not indifference. It is desire, a desire so potent that his body senses it long before his mind accepts it. Because when a man resists, his mind can fabricate, but his body never will. Fourth sign, the unconscious pull. No matter how fiercely he tries to resist, no matter how much he battles his emotions, the unconscious self always finds a path toward what it truly wants, and this is one of the most revealing signs of all. He gravitates toward you without a conscious plan. It's a gentle, subtle, almost accidental movement, but it is persistent. The psyche naturally moves toward what makes it feel whole, even when the conscious mind attempts to block it. A man who deeply desires you may seem to keep a safe distance on the surface, yet in the details he cannot command, he ends up closer than he planned. You notice it when he unexpectedly appears in your orbit, seemingly by chance in the same cafe, the same event, doing things he never typically does. This isn't mere luck, It's his longing unconsciously guiding him toward you. He manufactures reasons to communicate, small things that don't demand a real discussion, but let him remain a presence in your world. I just wanted to ask you a quick question, or I saw this and it reminded me of you. These aren't merely inquiries, they are bridges, delicate threads he extends to maintain a connection. Another sign of this unconscious pull is his intense curiosity about your life. He asks questions he doesn't genuinely need answered. How was your day? What are you working on? How are you feeling? What are your dreams? Seemingly casual, but with a focus too sharp to be simple courtesy. It's his unconscious trying to access your inner world while his intellect hasn't yet caught up. Even when he strives to stay neutral, his physical demeanor gives him away. He leans in your direction, listens with full attention, reacts with feeling to your stories. It's as if his energy naturally circles you. Deep attraction functions like a psychological gravity, invisible but unmistakable. And the clearest signal of all, he consistently returns. Even if he creates space for a few days, even if he states he needs room, he always finds a route back to you. This returning is a quiet admission. His want is stronger than his fear. His mind wants to escape, but his spirit does not. This unconscious pull also shows itself in his sensitivity to you. He notices nuances others miss. When you alter your hairstyle, when your mood shifts, when you grow quiet, his attentiveness is a type of emotional nearness he cannot regulate because it springs from his attraction. And here lies a truth that few people grasp. A man who unconsciously moves toward you is a man who feels more than he can comfortably hold, because no one resists something that is meaningless to them. No one comes back to a place where they feel no bond. No one seeks proximity to something that doesn't call to them. So when he appears, asks, messages, returns, watches, it's because his unconscious has already made a choice. Even if his mind still fights it, his core already understands that he desires you. Fifth sign, the fear of surrender. This sign is undoubtedly the most powerful and also the most difficult to read. Fear not of you, but of what he experiences because of you. Depth psychology explains that when a man encounters an emotion potent enough to touch concealed parts of himself, an unconscious protective system activates, rooted in one fundamental reality: he is afraid of losing command. When a man wants you so profoundly that he tries to fight it, he doesn't do this because there is something wrong with you, because he doesn't like you, or because he lacks confidence. On the contrary, he does it because he is too certain of his emotions, and that certainty is what alarms him. His desire makes him feel exposed, reveals his core, leads him into an emotional landscape where he can no longer dictate terms. A place where you hold the power to affect him, to transform him, to break down his internal structures. This fear comes through in characteristic statements. I'm not ready for a commitment right now. I don't want things to get messy. I'm not sure if I'm in the right place. But if you look carefully, you'll see the silent conflict between his words and his deeds. Because he still looks for you, still reappears, still thinks of you more than he will ever acknowledge. His words are designed to guard him, but his actions reveal the truth. The fear also manifests in his conduct after meaningful moments. After you've shared a deep talk, a powerful link, or genuine intimacy, he often suddenly withdraws. Not because he didn't value it, but because he felt it too intensely. It is said that when a feeling touches the unconscious, a fundamental pattern of connection stirs, a force so strong it can shake the foundations of the conscious self. And it is precisely this shaking he wishes to prevent. But that's why you'll sometimes witness contradictions. He's warm, then suddenly distant. He shows engagement, then vanishes. He opens up emotionally, only to shut down right after. This emotional fluctuation is an expression of his fear of surrendering to what he genuinely feels. His resistance is the proof of your impact. Another profound sign of his fear is his perfectionism. Such men wish to seem flawless, manage everything, make no errors. This internal strain immobilizes them. They overthink, delay too long, hold back, not because they don't wish to move forward with you, but because they are terrified of failing you and failing themselves. Sometimes, this fear also appears as an apprehension of deep emotional intensity. There is a concept of the inner feminine within a man, which only stirs when a woman truly reaches him at his foundation. When you activate this part of him, he feels emotionally transparent, vulnerable, stripped of his usual protections. This awakening disorients him, makes him pull away, and yet magnetizes him even closer to you. And here lies the reality that changes everything. A man who feels nothing also harbors no fear. Fear is confirmation of his desire. Resistance is evidence of the depth of his feeling. His inner conflict is the sign that you are already within him in a way he cannot direct. This fear is not a weakness, it is a consequence. It shows that he has found something that truly matters, something that changes him, touches him, unsettles him, and elevates him. And that something is you. The struggle is not with you, but with the self you reveal. Conclusion: when a man appears to be fighting his feelings, he is not running from you, he is running from himself, from the power that moves through him, from the vulnerability you spark in him, from the possibility of being truly touched and changed. It is said that the deepest connections do not originate from calm, but from internal friction, from the clash between what we try to manage and what our essence has already chosen. A man can control his language, his space, his rationalizations, but he cannot control what resonates within him when you are near. He cannot control what your presence does to his energy, his body, his unconscious mind. That's why he acts in paradoxes. That's why he moves closer only to step away again. That's why he watches you when he assumes you won't see. That's why he comes back even though he promised himself he wouldn't. He fights because what he feels for you is not minor, not temporary, not something that can be easily dismissed. When a man feels little, everything remains calm. No battles, no strain, no returns. But when he feels too much, this emotional push and pull emerges, confusing you, yet exposing the magnitude of his want. He isn't trying to avoid you, he's trying to guard himself from the intensity, from the loss of control, from the power of what you've awakened within him. You've become a reflection in which he sees parts of himself that have long been dormant: his sensitivity, his passion, his anxieties, his most human yearnings. This resistance, you see, is not rejection, it is acknowledgement. It is his soul whispering, "This means too much to me." It is his unconscious drawing him toward you, even when his mind slams on the brakes. A profound bond between two people does not always look like harmony. It often looks like internal struggle, like emotional tremor, like that mix of pull and fear that compels a person to confront their own truth. And you are that very catalyst, the one who confronts him with his own reality, who moves him, awakens him, ignites in him the longing he cannot direct. So the next time you observe his distance, his confusion, his tension, or his awkward way of masking his emotions, don't assume he is walking away. Remember that he is wrestling with something larger than himself. Remember that he is containing a desire that overpowers him. Remember that in truth, he is only resisting the depth to which you've already reached him. And never forget this: a man who tries to resist you is a man who has already been profoundly affected and is simply afraid you will see it. What looks like distance is, in its purest form, the most authentic evidence of his deep desire. If this insight into the hidden language of desire resonated with you, please support our community by liking this video, and subscribing to Winds of Thought for more explorations into the human psyche. Your engagement helps us continue this important work.